Hey everyone, we are live and
We are live.
we are live. It's Brian O'Shea and Naomi Wolf here in the Lair, which is part of the Daily Cloud Network. And I wanted to bring Brian O'Shea, who is, as you know, one of the world's great investigators with a long career in intelligence. Uh, I wanted to bring him on because
Wait a minute. Wait. I
yeah,
thought this was our show.
go,
How
baby.
are you bringing me
Oh,
on?
you're right. You
Good God.
you could be bringing me on.
Man, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no,
Sorry to interrupt.
you're quite right, darling. I'm so happy to be brought onto Brian O'Shea's show in the Lair. But he's the one with the news. I really wanted to do a show
hmm
with him as equals participants because we were talking because we were talking yesterday, and he shared with me that he has revealed stunning receipts about the origin of this wave, which I'm sure you've noticed, of incredibly gross, ignorant, ugly, medieval anti-Semitic content and messaging from many conservative and independent influencers. It's a shock. It really just began and escalated a few weeks ago. Jews across the country and friends of Jews and husbands and wives of Jews have noticed, and just Christians who love Jews, and lots of agnostics who care about our American democracy have noticed and are really puzzled by it because it's flared up all at once. Well, Brian looked into it, and I'm so proud of what he's done. He found a money flow which is really shocking. Go, or
Well,
receipts flow, an
I
influence flow.
we're yeah,
Go,
let's
go, go, go.
before we get right into that, what I wanted to talk about really today was influencers and how they seem to be like record players where whoever's paying them can put any record on there and they'll play it. Now, here's the dangerous part about influencers. It's probably the widest and most sought after medium for advertisers. Why? Because they gain trust. I like I have my podcasts I listen to, and I trust them. Okay. I still verify, but I trust them. If they're using a product they say they are, I'll probably be more apt to use that product after some due diligence. So this is dangerous when they start being used for political ends, when they start being used by those behind them for hate baiting and race baiting. And what I've noticed, like Naomi said, and she's noticed it too, I'm sure all of you have, is this kind of right after July, this horrible anti-Semitic, and I'm not gonna mince words here. It's anti-Semitic. A lot of people will say, "Oh, it's just anti-Israel," and it's anti-Semitic because people are merging the terms of Jew and Israeli and Zionist into one.
That's true.
And it's dangerous because I'm finding that the followers of some of these big influencers are arguing with me, saying she's always been right or he's always been right. I trust this person. And that's what I wanted to talk to people today about. And we'll go into a little bit of the money flow and where I see it originating from and really what the goal is. And you may not agree with me, but I think there's a lot of historical significance in what we're seeing happening today because it's happened all before.
Can you just lead with the influence connection that you found,
Yeah,
and then go into the other things you want to talk about?
sure. So um, last week I did a pretty long stream, about 4 hours, after doing a ton of research on Kim Iverson. She is a well-known, supposedly conservative or center-right influencer. You'll see her on Rumble and YouTube. And I was turned on to looking at her because about a year ago I heard her defending Venezuela and Maduro. And so I just took the time to do what any good investigator does. And I looked at everything she's ever put out all the way back to 2019. It doesn't go much beyond that and to the present time. And what I noticed was a certain pattern. That pattern was uh, anti Trump. Okay. Um, at the time, that 2019, she started on that. Understandably, she comes from the left. Ironically, she was pro Elizabeth Warren back then, but that's another topic. And then anti-Trump, and then kind of soft pedaling for China, saying that the Uyghur genocide, which I think that's an actual genocide, is being overplayed, and she's stuck to that position for quite some time. Make a long story short, I saw a lot of pro or neutral Iran sentiment and a lot of anti-Israeli sentiment, and
From her
from
or
her,
right.
from her, to the point where her co-hosts on The Hill
Uh-huh.
were shocked. I think Ryan Grimm was one of them at the time when she brought up the Uyghur thing.
Wow.
And he's like, what is happening? He actually said, what is happening here? What are you talking about? So I find it interesting that she's saying what's happening in Israel is a genocide while soft pedaling for China, who is on record with the UN for actually doing live organ harvesting of the Muslim population.
So, sweetie, I can't really follow.
So the point is you take that, what I start doing, I start looking at their guests.
Okay.
So she's had guests on there like Max Bloom.
On her show or
on her show.
Okay.
We're in the present now. So she's had guests on there like Max Blumenthal.
So explain, please, who these people are.
You are killing me.
I'm so sorry. We have
God.
I'm sorry. We have baby. We have editorial policies where when you introduce a new thing,
people are leaning in.
Okay.
They're getting exciting.
It is exciting.
Keep derailing the
you idea in case people don't know what it is. Go ahead.
Are you trying to get me fired?
No,
good God, no. So I looked at Max Blumenthal. It was in October. I will get there.
Okay, you don't.
I will let you actually explain who he is in a second.
I don't know what you know.
You do. So Max Blumenthal happens to be the son of Sidney Blumenthal, who, as Naomi pointed out in our last show, his father, Sidney Blumenthal, a close aide to Hillary Clinton,
best friends with Hillary
Clinton, came up with the term a vast right-wing conspiracy. Well, this guy, Max, his son, who's totally anti-Israel, seems to be a bit of an anarchist, and also is a member or was a member of something called the Syrian Solidarity Movement, which is funded by the Syrian Socialist Nationalist Party, who is a pro-Assad group. Okay, and he's pictured with them in 2020, 21, I believe. Max Blumenthal has been making the rounds around conservative media and being featured as a guest, even cited and quoted by Candace Owens and Elijah Schaffer and all these.
Who's Elijah Schaffer?
These are all personalities.
Okay, on the right.
Okay. Who are really staunchly anti-Israel and everything's Israel's fault.
Wait, it's not just Israel's fault; it's the Jews' fault.
Well, I'm not going to put those words in everyone's mouth.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The point is, they all seem to be saying the same message. Max Blumenthal, Eric Schaffer, Kim Iverson, Candace Owens, all these big names, Tucker Carlson to some point. What's his name? Fuentes.
I don't know who that is.
But Nick Fuentes. Now
he
seems more separate because he kind of says a lot of things about a lot of things. So I'm not really including him in this group because he seems to be at odds with them anyways. But we're seeing the same messaging. Most of the messaging seems to originate with the Gray Zone, which is the publication that is owned and founded by Max Blumenthal, the son of the man who is about as far left as he can get.
So this is where you blew my mind at first, because it's so genius to have Sidney Blumenthal, who is the first person to create this, bogeyman of the vast right-wing conspiracy, right? Groom and
bogey or boogie?
I think it's depends what country you're in, baby.
I think bogey are those Top Gun term, right?
Okay, baby, I'm not going to see boogie. I'm way too old for that.
I'm just getting revenge on her for interrupting me, but go ahead.
All right. Creating this nemesis of a vast right-wing conspiracy.
Yeah, no, that's crazy, but
and then he grooms his son, pardon me for interrupting, to be the voice, the initial mouthpiece of messaging that there's an actual right-wing network someone set up immediately around him who reproduce his talking points and message, and then unfortunately Other conservatives and independents think, oh, this must be real. Max Blumenthal said it, Candace so said it, and then they reproduce it, and this is all dividing the biggest block that could keep
Yeah.
Maha in power, and President Trump and J.D. Vance in power into the future, which is the union of Christians and Jews in America.
Sort of, yeah, that's sort of their target, but it's more than that.
Okay.
And
But did
here's,
I get the first
I
part
think
right?
you got it all right. But so what in my opinion, and I'm in the middle of this research, what I've seen happening is, get ready, call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but this seems to be a two-pronged attack on our political system by modern communist groups.
Oh.
Okay. And
Beyond Sidney Blumenthal and his son?
beyond Sidney Blumenthal and his son. So this isn't just about MAGA. And honestly, I think the Israeli Jewish vilification, that's just the necessary creation of the fascist you need, because historically communists came to power, the most power with the Soviet Union, by defeating fascists.
That's right.
And let's not forget that's when Antifa was born during that time.
Right.
So it's more about anti-imperialism from these groups. Now, where does the communist angle come in with those I just mentioned?
Yeah, that's a stretch, baby.
Well, not really.
Okay, tell me.
So I noticed, let's start with Kim Iverson. Let's start there. She had a guy on there named on her show called Haz El-Din. Okay, Haz El-Din is the founder of something called the American Communist Party.
What?
Okay.
Are you serious?
Yes. He was, and his co-founder is someone, I'm sure a lot of you have seen him on X, is a guy named Jackson Hinkle. Okay, so Jackson Hinkle and Haz El-Din formed this thing called the American Communist Party in 2024. Okay, now they nicknamed this party, this movement as they call it, they nicknamed it MAGA Communism.
What?
Yes.
Just now?
No, 2024. They nicknamed it that. They consider MAGA communism. Now, what is its goal? To turn MAGA communist? No, that's too big of a hill to climb. But would MAGA know if they were turning communist? Would we, if you don't study communism, I'm not saying people don't, but what I'm saying is, would they recognize it? Because think about what communism targets and has historically targeted: the working class. It was never about race back in the day. It was always about the classes.
By targeting, you mean
targeting for influence,
for support, for assets, right?
And so and Jackson Hinkle was rooting on Kim Iverson and Max Blumenthal and several others. And almost all of these people have appeared on George Galloway's show in the UK, who is an avowed Marxist and avowed anti-imperialist. And so how does Israel fit into this?
And he's also for years been a very strong voice against Zionism and for
big time. Yes, he was. I believe he was kicked out of parliament for basically, propping up Muslim extremists back in the day. And actually, he was just featured on Tucker Carlson's show.
You're kidding me.
I kid you not, last week. And it was just this kind of bromance.
This is getting weird, baby, really weird, because just thinking about like the big picture, a year ago, someone like George Galloway, who is far, far left in Britain, and in Britain, left means actual Marxist, right? And Tucker Carlson would be at opposite ends of the spectrum, like hating each other ideologically. That doesn't make any sense.
Makes no sense.
Unless what you're saying is happening.
Well, it seems to be happening. Now, I mentioned a two-pronged attack. So a lot of people, myself included, have always said, oh, the Dems are ushering communism into this country, or the Dems are communists. Look, at best, the traditional Democratic Party, they're what I call champagne socialists.
Yes.
That's
my friends.
Well, not anymore. They kicked you out.
They kicked me out
for speaking those truth bombs and all that,
Sorry,
but the thing is, the Democrats, by and large, they've got themselves in this situation where they've allowed something called the Democratic Socialists of America to infiltrate their party, to run on Democratic tickets, because DSA, or Democratic Socialists of America, are not a political party. So by having that in their title,
Wait, they're not a political party. What are they?
that's it's a like a it's a group. It's a special interest group.
So they're a
Okay.
PAC?
Kind of. It's
And
kind of.
but per federal elections law, you have to be something in order to run
Yeah, I
candidates.
mean, to
You have to be a PAC to support candidates
they
for
have a
parliament.
pack,
Okay.
but it's not a pack per se. It's a
It actually has to be a 501c4.
no, they can donate to anyone they want.
There's a limit.
I mean, I don't know right now in front of me the structure of
Okay, well,
DSA in
that's
terms of
important. Let's look
the
at it.
tax
Yeah,
structure, but
yeah.
I do know they're not a political party. They do have a pack, but are not a pack.
Okay.
Actually, it's reported that they were putting money into a pack that was run by CARE, the Council on
Are you
Arabs,
kidding
yes,
me?
to fund Mandami's campaign. They also were the boots on the ground for, honestly, they're a lot like Sinn Féin.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You
It's
mean
like
they're everywhere?
they're kind of like the boots on the
Right.
ground kind of
Yeah, but legally they have to be something. If they're
baby,
raising
I
money, they
don't
have.
know. You're
Okay,
putting
let's
me on the
find out.
spot,
I'm
man.
so
So
sorry. I'm
embarrassing.
just saying it's kind of
Um,
important because they're committing a bunch of crimes. If
I'm
they're
sure someone
using
on the chat will pop it up.
Sam Antar is the person we should reach out to.
Yeah,
The
I'm sure someone in the chat will pop it up.
I'm just saying that like the reason I'm focusing on this is if they're a nonprofit and donating money to their PAC, that's illegal, without very limited guidelines. If they're funding candidates and they're a nonprofit, they're offering tax deductions to people, that's illegal. And it's fraud. These various violations are very serious crimes if they're happening. So we'll look into that.
Yeah.
But Democratic Socialists of America, so they funded CARE? Is that what you're
No, no,
saying?
no. There was a pack
Right.
that was set up, I believe, I don't have the reporting from me, by CARE,
Gotcha.
and one of the big donors to that was DSA.
Oh my God. So, okay, I get it
Okay,
now.
so it's the country's
Right.
country's largest socialist organization with more than 90,000 members as of November 2025. They don't really say what type of structure they are.
Interesting. That's really
And I think I
interesting,
was
right?
looking for that too, because it's a .org. But anyways,
Right.
that's the left version of what AFP or I mean ACP, the American Communist Party,
Right.
looks like they're doing. So, but
Right.
two different goals. So the DSA's stated goal is to get rid of the Democratic Party.
That's their main mission. Get rid
Yeah,
of the
they want to be
Democrats.
they want to
Sorry,
be
repeat.
a political party, and they want to basically replace.
Replace the Democratic Party. They want to be half the country.
And so they're targeting mainly the working class millennials in places like Brooklyn and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because and so their goals are, and they say this straight out. They're not, I'm not guessing. They actually say this at their meetings. You talk to any DSA or any guy wearing a Mom Dame t-shirt or
Mm.
girl, and I have,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "Oh, are you a Democrat?" I kind of baited him. He's like, "Oh no, we hate the Democrats,"
Wow.
and they want them gone. They got in there. The whole squad is DSA.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
People don't know this. I didn't know this.
It's on their websites.
The squad. Are you saying AOC
AOC definitely,
and
Ilhan.
Ilhan
Yep,
Omar
that
and
dude in
Tlaib?
that dude in Minneapolis that ran
No,
for mayor. Yeah. Yeah, oh
no,
yeah,
the
he's
Somali.
and they ran a ton of candidates this
Holy,
last.
how has the squad been covered so much and held up as an example of what's wrong with the Democrats? And they're actually Democratic Socialists of America. Honey, we're going to be sued if what you just said is not true.
It is
Seriously.
true. You could go to the campaign posters, they're listed.
They're
And then
supported by DSA or they're members of DSA. There's such a
the
difference.
ones I mentioned, Jamal Bowman,
Yeah.
they're members
They're
or war members, but yes, they are. You go to
This
their.
is a huge headline if it's true, baby. If it's not true, we
It's
have to
been reported.
if it's not true, we have to make it
It's
public.
been reported.
Okay, I believe you. We
We'll
always
put all
try
the
to.
links up on the site, or maybe one of our chatsters can do it. So
That's shocking.
all right, so back to the two.
So there are already communists in Congress.
Yeah, and someone did a really great video about this. They were talking about this zombie moth or something
Yeah.
that will attach itself to a larger organism of moths
Right.
and then take it over, and then will actually put their eggs, or some bird or something, they'll put their eggs in the existing nest.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
a
when
cuckoo bird, honey.
it's the cuckoo bird.
Right.
And then the cuckoo bird babies, I guess, kill the other ones and eat the eggs.
Right.
And that's kind of like the DSA going into the Democrats. Now, on their goal is to replace them. It seems the American Communist Party's goal with MAGA and conservatives, like America First conservatives, is to basically scuttle them, turn them into a million competing factions, arguing they
Oh,
seem to be.
we're doing that over on our side.
Yeah, now I'll wrap this up here where it gets. I was looking at this going, this is nuts, but yeah, they seem to definitely be hitting both sides of America to the point where you could walk down the street and find pictures of Dan Goldman, a Democrat who hates MAGA, and uh, they've got posters on the telephone poles. It was featured in one of my videos attacking him,
Wow.
and
It's a crazy target.
they use APAC.
He's just a Democrat. He's a mainstream
Yeah.
Democrat.
And let's not forget the Democratic Socialists of America, along with a lot of the people from the ceasefire movement, that kind of Jewish Voice for Peace, which, by the way, you don't need to be Jewish to join. Most of them are not.
You've brought that up. I used to be a member of Jewish Voice for
Yeah.
Peace. It's not.
Yeah, you don't have to be Jewish.
So what? You don't.
Okay.
I don't have to be Jewish to join black to join the
That's your point.
NAACP. No one says you have to be Jewish, or no one says you have to be
Well,
black.
no, not.
And that would
They
be
don't say you
illegal.
have to be.
That would be
No, no,
illegal for the
well,
NAACP.
come on, it's.
Baby, but I'm trying to say something
But
serious. We
you're-
don't live in a country.
No, but I agree with you. What I'm saying is their headlines were things like, this large group of Jewish Americans
I
disagrees
see.
with Israel defending itself.
I get it. So it could be what is the word? AstroTurf. It could
It's
be.
AstroTurf.
Okay, that's possible.
Okay, so no, I'm not saying I agree with you on all that other stuff. So how's it come into my theory here?
Mhm.
Okay, so Haz el-Din, the founder of American Communist Party, he founded that party after leaving, after a long time, the Democratic Socialists of America. Yeah. Yes.
Wow. And now he was on the show of this woman you've investigated?
He was on oh yeah, she did a
Kim
whole.
Iverson?
Yes, she interviewed him, Jackson Hinkle, Max Blumenthal,
So a bunch of actual Marxists.
a bunch of actual Marxists.
And she's also, so how does that, so I get that Marxists are trying to take over America. How does that relate to the anti-Jewish whipping up of Islamist hatred thing?
So
Or does it?
well,
They seem different.
the way that works is there's a couple, like there always is. There's never one plot.
Right.
So one way it works for the people funding these groups, because they are funded by China, they are funded by Syria.
The groups, the
American Communist Party,
right?
possibly the influencers. I know Kim Iverson, Max Blumenthal, the Gray Zone have all received awards from the Syrian Solidarity Movement. Something
You
like
say that again. That's, to me, that's the headline.
Syrian Solidarity Movement has given awards, small amounts like $5,000, whatever, to journalists such as Jimmy Dore, such as Kim Iverson, such as The Gray Zone, which is Max Blumenthal's publication.
And so might that just be because they were good journalists and covered some important story about Syrian victimization or oppression?
Sure. I mean,
like what reason was given for those awards?
well, integrity in journalism, ironically enough, that's because it's named after, I think it's Shira Shem, I believe. It's a Shira Shem award. I'm getting the first name wrong. I always do. But she's supposedly an American journalist who was working for Iranian Press TV when she was killed.
Propaganda.
Big propaganda when
Right.
she was killed. But it's really less about the award and more about what's behind the Syrian Solidarity Movement. And what's behind it is, you're going to love this. There's a PAC, of a nonprofit run out of San Francisco called something like the Architectural Investment PAC, something like that. But their actual acronym is APAC. But they're for the Syrians.
I can't even follow that.
Okay. But
no, I'm looking at the Syrian Solidarity campaign.
So it's the APAC is the acronym, and
Is this to confuse people?
I don't think it is. I think it's just, it's something with the architectures. I don't have my notes, bless you. But these are also, it's the same. So the same group funding the Syrian Solidarity Movement is also the same group that put forth all those documentaries about 9/11 and architectural integrity. But it's all coming out of a pro-Assad movement. Okay, that goes way back to like Bush.
Okay, you've thrown way too much at me. Let's slow down just a little, all right?
Okay.
I get the pipeline to Max Bloom of messaging that is
Hmm.
anti-Jewish, anti-Zionist,
Hmm.
etc., to Max Blumenthal, and then via him to all these other
Hmm.
people. Notably, we don't know that it's going directly because we don't have a smoking
Oh,
gun.
no, no. They actually say on one of the sites that they fund the gray zone.
Oh, all
Yeah,
right.
they
So
they don't have.
but from the gray zone, we hear the same talking points on Candace Owens and this group of influencers, Tucker
Yep,
Carlson, whom I
yep,
used to really like, and a few other people.
yeah.
But we don't know, we don't see a direct financial connection. We just see the
Not with
same
Tucker,
talking
not with
points.
Candace, with the other ones, yes.
Oh my God. All right. So
Yes.
that I get. And then I get that it's coming from, or these people have received some funding and awards
Hmm.
from a Syrian solidarity campaign
Yep.
or movement.
Which is funded
But
by an actual Socialist Party of Syria.
okay, so I guess what I'm struggling with is chicken and egg, right? Is it that Syrians and radical Islam is being used by as a cat's paw by global communism to mess up America and the
Mhm.
West, or is the left merging with radical Islam and communism, the far left, to take over America at the behest of radical Islam? Like who's
That's a
wagging
good
this
question.
dog? And
So,
it's just weird because can I just say historically,
mhm.
radical Islam and secular godless communism have nothing in common. They're not natural
But actually,
allies.
there is a, and I thought about that. There's a long history of communists working with
That's
Islamists
true.
to get into countries,
That's
and
true.
it's. I think what it does, in my
It
opinion,
is the
I'll get there, baby.
you can't
I'll
have
get
a
there.
sentence
I'll
without a
get there.
subject. All
I'll
right.
get. It's like
All
our
right.
dinner table. So no. So the goal. So what Marxists have used Islamists for is to get into countries under the auspices of a um, competing religion.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
In our country, what I've seen,
Wait, how does that benefit them? How does it benefit communism to have radical Islam? Like right now, it's clear that someone's giving a memo to all these groups in Europe who are disrupting Christmas gatherings and disrupting Christmas fairs, these Islamist groups.
mhm,
And I think there's a memo, telling Islamist
right.
men to attack women and girls. I do. The brandishing of swords that's happening by,
Hmm. Yeah.
Muslim refugees in Britain. They don't, no one does that at home. No one does that on the
I don't
streets in
even know where they
Morocco.
buy swords in Britain.
No, exactly. But it's like clearly orchestrated,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
The
yeah.
two-tier justice society is
Yes.
being orchestrated. But I still don't get, the world that the Islamists want in Britain, say, is
Mhm.
not going to look like communist,
It's not about
Stalinist.
a world, baby.
What is
So
it about? I don't
it's
get it.
so look, it's about this. All right. Um, to the Islamists, to the hardcore Islamists, it is about taking over the world. They really believe that for some reason these atheist Marxists are on their side about that. They, in my opinion, are the club.
They who?
The Muslims
Are
are
what
the
club?
club on
Oh,
Western
the
society.
club,
Yes.
the weapon.
They're the same club that
I
I
see.
saw BLM being used for the
Right,
Democrats.
right.
Okay, cow populations, get them to stop fighting, get them to give up. And then once they're done with them, they're done with them,
So
the
that is okay. You're
Marxists.
answering my question. All right.
Okay,
So can I jump in and ask
hold
you
on,
some?
wait.
Okay.
In our country,
Uh-huh.
they are you they the Red Green Alliance, as they call it, has come about because the Muslims see it as great. We can get into a country with all these white folks supporting us. Okay.
Ah,
And the Marxists see it as, oh, if we hide under that Muslim flag and people attack us, they're racist.
right. Oh, that's
Yeah,
clever. That's
they're
clever.
racist.
So my follow-up question. So basically, it's like,
It's a nice blazer, brother.
thank you,
Yeah,
baby. Amazon.
go ahead.
Thank you.
Stay serious.
Thank you. You stay serious. Basically, it's like the scorpion who stings the frog,
Right.
right? Like they're using each other right now. Each thinks they'll kill off the
Of
other when they're
course.
successful,
Yes.
and we don't know, they could both be wrong, right? They could kill each other, right? Or but
Yeah.
basically they're using each other and each thinks they'll do away with the other. How can that not be obvious to each of them? Like that's how these alliances work.
Well, I, look, I think at someone like Tucker Carlson's level, who's highly educated, and I always had respect for the guy. We met him. Um, uh, he knows. I mean, obviously,
No, but
it's
why do the Muslims think when they're done with the communists, they'll just do away with them? And how do the communists think when they're done with the Muslims, they'll just do away with them?
well, on the street level, people get caught up in the moment. They actually think they're part of some revolution.
Right,
People still believe that. We were just part of a revolution. We took our country back
right.
with the election of Donald Trump.
Love
You
when you say that.
you know that,
Yeah.
but then even in MAGA, there's those people that like go all the way and we're going to do this and we're going to change everything. Then there's people like, hey, we got our guy in, but then reality sets in. There are trades and deals that need to be made just to sustain power, and some of those are very unpopular, unfortunately, but that's reality.
Yeah.
Um, so on their end, I think at the ground level,
Right.
because they're broken into such small cells
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there are feedback
Well,
loops that keep
yeah,
the cores
and there's a new
isolated.
package over all of it, which is
Yeah,
Democratic Socialists of America. I'm sure if they were saying, look at the Mamdani campaign, that's such a perfect example of
I
this,
know.
right?
It's a great
You
example
wrap
of it.
it in some telegenic young person who's kind of brown and lots of slogans that are very anodyne, like, affordable housing, free childcare. And you don't have to say we're the Islamists who want to put you all in burqas and have Sharia law,
Hmm.
and we're the communists who want to strip you of your property. You don't have to say that. You've got a whole other package. And then that's brilliant, honey. Now, quick question, then
Yes.
I'll understand
And I'm
everything you're
listening. I'm
saying.
just looking up some notes really quickly.
That's fine, sweetheart. My question to you is, why does it benefit? I get the motivation, I get the alliance. It's fascinating. Oh, this club, the Islamists that you mentioned, that
Hmm.
is being used right now by the communists, I guess. Um, isn't this like the third or fourth club they've tried since 2020? Like, wasn't the first club since 2020 the pandemic, and the second club was the vaccine, and the third club was Black Lives Matter instability,
Hmm.
uh, and I feel like a lot of things aren't working, so they're just changing the channel, and this is the latest, Islamist kind of rage is the latest
Well, keep in mind, this one, don't
club.
think of them all as coming from one direction.
Hmm.
Okay, there's a lot of parallel motivations here, but I think you need to separate the DSA, this whole Marxist Red Green Alliance, from things like the vaccine. And here's
Oh,
why.
okay.
Because we've seen, especially with the left, um, this kind of embracing of Islam since, probably 2002,
Right,
if not earlier.
right, right.
And we've seen Democrats mainly. These are the ones that set up those groups, under a lot of them under Arabella, George Soros's organization, his B Corps,
Mhm.
where they go into prisons and they talk to prisoners. And since they started these programs in 2002, you could go to the Bureau of Prisons and the DOJ and see it coincides with the spike in radicalization, Islamic radicalization in prisons.
Oh my gosh. So there's going to be a domestic army of Muslim former felons who can be deployed
And how do
in
you
groups.
get those out?
How do you get them
Oh,
out?
you start getting all your college students to start speaking out against mass incarceration.
Mass incarceration. Oh my God.
Seriously.
You're right. And
I don't
also
know if I'm
getting rid
right,
of
but
cash bail
getting rid
and
of cash
getting rid of
bail.
policing, all the things Mussolini is
Exactly.
doing. That is going to release the Islamist felon population into the boroughs of New York.
Yeah. And a lot of them
Holy
weren't
cow.
Muslim when they went in.
I believe it. I always thought Islam was very radical. Well, there are things I've always loved about Islam, and one of them was its willingness to go into prisons and proselytize mostly
Yes.
Black Americans. So now my last question to
Mhm.
you is, and I just want to say for the record, especially because I'm Jewish, I hate it that I've reached this point in my reasoning about radical Islam. And I hate it that there's so few moderate Muslim voices saying there's an alternative. We're not all like that, right? Making it very easy to fear a whole religion or to generalize. I've always loved Islam. I studied the Holy Quran in college. I've traveled to many Muslim countries and been incredibly warmly received in them. And I'm not trying, and I've worshiped, with Muslims in places of worship in, I guess.
Well, can I put it in perspective?
Yeah, so but I just want to say I am very reluctant to realize that radical Islam, fundamentalist Islam, which isn't everybody, right? It may not even be the majority, is being weaponized in this way. I just want to say that for the record, and I, still love my moderate Muslim friends and the core message of Islam, and I wish that more moderate Muslims would speak out. What did you want to say?
Well, I think for people who have not spent a lot of time in, Middle Eastern countries or Far East,
Mhm.
where there's huge, I think one of the biggest populations of Islam is in Indonesia, actually. Spent time in the southern Philippines, all throughout the Middle East, Oman, Yemen, you name it. Um, but I've also spent time in a lot of the first world countries, Saudi Arabia, Oman, the UAE, and they are taught, not the first world countries, but the third world countries, kind of like those in the middle, like Jordan, not quite at the level of UAE, kind of class wise. UAE looks down on them. But the less educated classes in the Middle East are taught about Judaism and Christianity, the same thing that is being blasted about Islam universally currently, that all Islamists are
Mm,
radical.
mm.
And we always used to have a saying when I was in special forces about, like, why people think that way. And we would say, saying that every Muslim is a suicide bomber,
Mm.
that's like saying every Christian is a member of the KKK.
Totally.
But you made a good point, like, where are those voices?
Yeah.
And it's just like, um, during the whole pandemic thing,
Right.
big voices with big audiences
Right.
that are getting shadow banned, no one's seeing them.
Right.
They're not allowing any moderate voices in
Right.
Islam to come out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, especially, my brothers and sisters on MAGA, love you to death, but a lot of them believe there is no moderate Islam. And then
Right.
they'll say things like, look at this and look at this. Well, a
You
lot
know
of
what? If people don't raise their voices when it's difficult, then there really is no moderate Islam. Just like if people don't raise
right.
their voices about health freedom, there are
You're
no
right.
moderate.
And it is the moderate Islamists, just like we had to do as, common sense Americans, whether it was against vaccines or attacks on our Constitution. They need to step up and find a way, because we certainly did. Because what's happening?
That's you, Mehdi Hassan. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Mehdi Hassan's radical.
You think?
And I've seen his no, he's radical.
But I mean,
He's
let's
I've
also
seen I've
acknowledge.
seen I've seen videos of him
Mhm.
speaking crazy radical stuff to
I've
mosques.
been on a show back before I was
Well, you've
canceled.
been on a lot of people's show, and they
I,
turned out to be nutcases
that's true,
and
or traitors, but
traitors,
yes.
radical
Yeah.
Islamists, whatever.
Well, here's what I want to say. I want to acknowledge that there's a profound struggle in the Muslim world right now, all over the world, between moderates and especially people who, believe in women's rights and equality, and fundamentalists. And this is a battle, everywhere I've been, in Egypt, in Morocco, in Lebanon, in Jordan, certainly in Iran, like, women are being hanged for this fight, right? And so I'm not, I think what's happening among Muslims and Muslim thought leaders is what happened during COVID to people who would otherwise be skeptical about state forcing an injection into your body. The Overton window has moved so that moderate voices, which used to be plentiful, speaking up for the core ethical values of Islam, which are the same as the core ethical values of Judaism and Christianity, are silent because they don't want to be targeted as a traitor, a Zionist, an enabler of Zionists. They don't want to be canceled. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. It doesn't make it okay. Like, again, if we don't stand up for each other now with civilizational values, we get what we deserve. But
the same thing happened to Christians during Biden. We Christians, Catholics especially, I'm a Catholic, we were the number one on the Homeland Security, or like danger to national security list. We were number one.
Well, some Christians spoke up. A lot of people who did speak up were Christian.
And we we've
What's your
that.
point about
Well,
Catholics?
my point is, I'm seeing like I would recommend to my Muslim friends out there who are, of course, are all moderate Muslim.
Right, right.
A lot of them are very wealthy business people.
Mhm.
They have to take hold of this because it might even profit them right now to allow this to roll. But here's what's going to happen if things like the Marxists or the DSA, the Socialists of America, or the American Communist Party, if those communists, actual communists, get into power, they'll need a scapegoat.
They who?
Those people that get into power.
Oh, and
It
but
ain't going to be it's not going to be Jewish
it's not going to be
Americans.
moderate Muslims, honey. It'll be Jews and
No, it'll
Christians.
be Muslims. Why do you think
Why?
they're televising so much of the violence? They're creating the boogeyman
Right.
now.
Yeah, yeah, you're
And
right.
they've
And
done,
look what happened in Gaza. As soon as
look it
there
up
was,
in China.
what do you mean?
19 terrorist attacks allegedly by Uyghur Muslims, and they put 2 million of the 8 million Uyghur
Right.
Muslims
In
in
concentration camp.
concentration camps,
Right.
which are called re-education
Okay,
camps.
so you've answered fully my
Yeah.
question. Now, my last follow-up question, I promise, honey, is why Jews, right? Like how, and why this, like, I guess I'm asking you a reverse question. I see, and I'm persuaded that the goal was to divide Christians and Jews on the
Mhm.
right because that's so politically strategic. And we've always been a solid block.
Right.
There's not been daylight between us for the most part. And and I definitely see the messaging, especially like Kim Iverson saying Jesus wasn't Jewish. I just posted about this. Like,
Yeah,
she is
the
a
nuts.
literal
Yeah.
lunatic. Like,
She's
Nazareth and Bethlehem were Arab, she claimed. That term didn't even exist in Jesus's
Yeah,
time the
I
way
think she
we use it
started a
now.
career as a Miss America or a beauty model in
Honey, don't be
Texas.
sexist. That doesn't
I'm
mean
just
she's
saying.
dumb.
No, I'm saying. Well, no, it doesn't mean. But if you do start there and you want to promote yourself as some sort of a thought leader, read a book. And
I
no,
don't think her having won Miss Texas has
no.
anything to
But the
do with a
point, the
criticism
point,
of
the
her
point I'm making, and
intelligence.
okay,
Yes,
maybe
baby.
that was unfair,
Thank you.
but the point I am making is, um, our first lady started as a model
True.
and but she speaks 7 languages and she is well educated,
Yeah.
whether that's, I don't know her
Baby,
background.
no sentence that begins
Okay,
X
well, let me
started as
just,
a model is not a
let's
sexist
not,
sentence.
no, I don't care if it's sexist anymore. I really don't. I really don't.
Well, it's
I'm
not
so
okay,
numb
then
to
it's
that
not
stuff.
intellectually
No, I'm
valid
talking
because
about
so
I'm
what?
talking about one person.
Right,
What I'm saying is some people are born into education.
right,
Some people have to find
right.
education. If I go on to a podcast or
Yeah,
anything and it drives Naomi crazy, she's like, just go on. I'm like, not until I know all this
right,
stuff.
right.
And I'm sure. And I've challenged my own theories. What I'm seeing here is someone who's reading a script.
I believe you.
Okay.
Well, and such a dumb script. Jesus wasn't Jewish because, oh my gosh, I couldn't get over this. Jesus wasn't Jewish because his dad was God. And God isn't Jewish. She
Yeah.
really said something like that, and also, and I was thinking, well, what about Mother Mary, who's obviously a
What
Jewish
does she,
lady? Hold on. And she said he's also not Jewish because at that time lineage was patrilineal. So even though Mary was Jewish, his dad was God, and so he's not Jewish. And also, she claimed that Jesus was trying to establish Christianity, which literally
no, she said he was a Christian,
he was a Christian,
which is
which is insane.
makes him a time traveler.
Right.
Um,
I mean, we can explain the reasons we're saying that later to recap first to fourth century
yeah, I don't want to go
post
down this road because I am
post Jesus
Catholic.
history.
I
But
do believe Jesus is the Son of God.
you
I
can say
do.
fine, he's the son
Yes.
of God, but that doesn't mean he wasn't Jewish in his lifetime.
Oh,
It's
I agree
insane
with you. I
already.
agree with you. It's a real the God because his father is God is just.
It's
What does she
deranged.
think? He's an Asgardian? I mean, like, I mean, seriously.
And also, just for the record, Jesus said in Matthew that not a jot or tittle of Moses's law will be changed. I mean, he overtly said, "I'm here to distill the essence of Judaism and make it available to everybody."
Okay, so
So moving on. So
why the Jews?
why the Jews? Yeah.
Okay, so I believe the real reason why it's not throughout history, but in this last couple of years, why the Jews? Well, I always go back to money
Yeah.
and trade.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now, the Chinese Communist Party, who is in my opinion, illicit ruling body of the People's Republic of China,
Okay.
They have been doing their Belt and Road Initiative, which is trade. It's trade throughout the world, and they build infrastructure and everything, and you become part of the Belt and Road. It's kind of like based on the whole Silk Road idea, except it's really toxic financing. They go in, they say, hey, oh my gosh, your whole infrastructure fell apart when you adopted green energy. We'll rebuild it for you. And they do.
Right.
Except if you can't protect it, they'll send in the troops.
Right.
Ask a few of these African countries that who don't even own their own airports anymore.
Oh my God.
So that they had been in negotiations with Turkey, with Hezbollah, with Syria, because Syria had a schism from Hezbollah and Hamas back in 2014. They made up in about 2019, and that route, these new routes, would be going right through the areas of Gaza, West Bank, Israel, the whole Levant area.
So you have to wipe Israel off the map.
Well, at the same time, Saudi Arabia, India, Israel, and the United States during Biden, they were also in talks to get the IMEC, the India Middle East corridor, up and running. It's an idea that's been kind of forming. They've got some trade routes, but they wanted to really, solidify the IMEC as a direct competitor to the Belt and Road.
Right.
And on September 27th, I believe, the Crown Prince was inking his signature on this new agreement, which for him also came with a few nukes, compliments of Biden, and Israel. So you had Israel, India, the United States, and Saudi Arabia all signing this, getting into this deal, very much like the Belt and Road, that would have shoved China out of the Middle East. Gotcha. And also shoved them from connecting through Turkey into Europe.
Got it. Then what?
7 days later is October 7th. Okay, which is highly televised. They made sure everyone would see it. Half these terrorists were GoPro cameras. And that's, I'm not saying it's a reason that the deal was scuttled, but there was no way with that type of coverage, Saudi Arabia, especially, who you really need in the Middle East to do anything, they were out. It was done. Thing is scuttled. And obviously Israel, they've got their hands full. So that's what I believe is the reason.
But then why now, right?
Because these plans are still underway.
Got it. So how does it help the people who want to wipe Israel off the Middle East so they can build a Chinese energy pipeline, essentially?
Well, you pick
how does it help them to get Kim Iverson to say Jesus wasn't Jewish?
Well, I don't know. I mean, who knows?
No, but why?
I don't want to go that much in the weeds on her.
All right. Well, why does this result in American influencers suddenly?
You said it earlier.
Jews. What?
It's about when you start making the people you trust, like the MAGA crowd, some of the MAGA crowd, clearly anti-Semitic,
right,
and hateful,
right.
And you're using words like genocide. You're doing a few things. You're turning the Jewish people into the Nazis, basically, for lack of a better term. By now, they're the ones committing genocide.
Right.
So then this cows Christian Americans, or especially those, in the South who call themselves Judeo-Christians, and they're cowed into aligning publicly when they see far-right influencers saying bad things about Jews. Because, if by what the Marxists are saying, if the Jews are now responsible for genocide, Jews are just like Nazis. Oh, you support Nazis.
You're a Nazi.
And then also it fuels the Antifa movement, because you can't have an anti-fascist group without a fascist. Okay, but it's really about, it's less about Israel and more about anti-imperialism.
But I get that, but in this immediate case, it is targeting Jews and blurring Jews and Israel, partly, certainly to break up the political alliance between conservative Jews and Christians, which results in strong U.S. support and money for Israel, right? And, I'm America first, but you said some smart things about why, and I think we should be very careful of every dollar we send to any ally, but why. You've explained to me in the past why it's important for us to send money to Israel, which is a very unpopular position. By the way, we don't get any checks from Israel. We don't get any support, any sponsorship. This is.
I think it's look. I think it's important for us to support our allies, is what I was saying. Because
why is Israel an important ally to the U.S.?
Well, because they're really our most loyal footprint in the Middle East.
Why is that important?
Well, it's important because that's where the oil is.
Mm.
And if we are not there, as guests of Israel and Saudi Arabia and Jordan
Right,
and Syria,
right,
okay, not just Israel,
right.
okay,
Do they all get our funding as well?
heck yeah, we get we get a lot from them.
Okay.
And let's not forget
Well,
Jordan
what do
and
we get from them? Like, what's the exchange? Why does money go to
okay,
our
so
allies in
if
the Middle East?
let's use Desert Storm as an example. Okay, we were not going into Iraq without the help of Saudi Arabia. Okay,
Oh,
we need
allies.
bases. You don't just get on a
Oh,
plane with your gun and drop in and fight a war. You
oh.
need bases, food,
I
fuel,
never
everything.
thought of people don't think
Yes,
of this if they haven't been
you have
soldiers.
to. I mean, it's just
Oh
like
my
it's like when a
God.
new business sets up in a foreign country, they
Right.
don't just set up shop. Someone gets there, they need tents, they need housing.
Oh my
It takes a
goodness.
while, you know.
That's brilliant. Okay, so basically if we didn't have and pay for allies and bases that in the
Hmm.
countries that you named in the Middle East, including Israel, but also
Right.
including
Including Israel.
Jordan and Egypt and all these other
Right.
countries, what would happen if there was, say, a Chinese or Yemenite or whatever attack on Israel slash our bases?
Well, let's just answer that, but
What
also
would we
if
have to
let's
do?
let's say you snapped your fingers right now and all US interests were out of the Middle East.
Yeah.
They'd all kill each other.
Well, big deal.
History has
Okay,
shown
I mean,
that.
I'm sorry, but big deal. It's not
It's
our
a big
problem.
deal when they control the oil supply of the world.
Oh,
Okay. Because if a
oh,
terrorist gets a hold of the oil supply, imagine what
oh,
the world is like. And it's not
oh,
just for cars, it's not just for natural gas.
oh,
It's these glasses, it's that phone, it's these
oh
wires.
my
So the
goodness.
point is,
Why can't anyone
well, let
explain
me
to
explain
me?
this. We're
But you just did
providing
a better
we're
job
providing
explaining it.
more than just security for Israel.
Right.
Our presence there in Oman,
Mhm,
in Yemen, in
mhm,
Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, it's everywhere.
mhm.
Okay. It and not just us, some allied partners as well. UK is pretty big over there
Right,
still.
right, right.
But it provides stability because you're
Yeah,
less
but why do we care? Because for that reason?
we care because we get good prices on oil when Saudi Arabia says, "Hey, we really need some help with this terrorist group down here
Uh,
in on the
so
Oman
we
Yemen
help
border."
them and then we get the
Yes,
flow of oil.
exactly.
Why? So MAGA, and I feel it's reasonable, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are raising the alarm. Why are we sending all this money to Israel? It's the Jews, it's the Jews. No, no one has explained the value of our having a presence in the Middle East or even an alliance with Saudi Arabia, with, Jordan, with Morocco, all those folks that are, cost money just like Israel does. Why can't anyone explain it the way you did? That's really kind of important.
Well, because they're flooded or they're uneducated.
It's also a
Plus,
lot of money. Do we really need to spend
well,
all
the thing
that
is,
money?
to be fair, like there's a lot of things you see with our allies that you can't read about. For
Right,
instance, a
right,
big ally is Thailand.
right, right,
Okay.
right, right.
What people see when they see us funding Israel,
Hmm.
they see $3.8 billion, dollars, I think is the latest.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
And
That's a
of
lot.
course, no one talks about the 17.8 billion still going to Ukraine or
That's
the
crazy.
1.9 going to, I think, Afghanistan,
Oh my God.
or the 18 billion that's been going to Pakistan for the
Oh,
last 20 years, except
18 billion?
except
What?
through sources I can't reveal. But the thing is, there's an
That's
American.
insane.
Well, because
Why do we need Pakistan?
uh, uh, I, anyways, um, so here's the thing is there's things that happen on the ground that people don't see. For instance, we used to do this exercise called Cobra Gold
Right.
in Thailand.
Sounds cool.
It's cool, and I got some Thai jump wings. It was a lot. I love Thailand. Love Thailand. Love you, Thais. They are awesome.
I believe it.
But we do this exercise, and it's training their special forces down in Lopburi. And when I was leaving, I did this thing called post-von. So I'd stay behind when everyone goes back and make sure the equipment and the pallets get way down to just north of Malaysia so they could get loaded on our military aircraft to go back to the
Mhm,
States. Weapons, food, gear,
mhm,
tents,
mhm.
structures. Um, and when we got there were seven massive pallets left on the airstrip. And I said, "What about those?" And my commander said, "Those are for them."
Ooh.
Yeah,
Are you
weapons,
allowed to say
everything.
this?
I don't know. But the thing is, I don't care. But
I don't want you to.
I mean, there was a slush cup.
I want you to go to spy jail.
I mean, there was a guy selling slushies right near the palace too, so he saw them. So I'm sure they're not that worried about it.
Okay.
And I'm okay with giving stuff to Thailand and their allies.
All right.
But the point is, we fund as much as we can because when you have a footprint in a country, when you're present in a country, that country is less likely to turn on you.
Right. Well, that
Okay.
makes sense. I mean, we'd
China
have to pay for it in blood
and
and
China knows
money in a
this.
war if we
Yeah.
weren't paying. Okay, I get
China
it.
knows this because
Right.
that's why China doesn't let
Does
us
the
in.
Belt and Road. Yeah, yeah.
And we don't have any presence there.
Baby, this is fascinating.
There was one thing I had to say because
Okay.
I can't leave this hanging.
No, go.
Okay. I wanted to end. I know it's time.
Because we have to talk about gold as
Why
well.
don't you talk about gold? And
Right.
I just have to look up one thing that I want to close with because
Okay.
it's
But
important.
also, when I'm done with this, will you explain very clearly why the messaging that we've been hearing? Like what is the
Such
goal?
as,
Well, what's the long-term wish of the Max Blumenthal funders
well, the long-term wish,
as a result of this
above all
propaganda?
that, the long-term wish of the global communists.
No, just
No,
about
no.
the-
This I can't say one without the other.
Okay.
Because honestly, I think he's a mercenary. He's all over the map. But the thing is, the wish is to have an entire communist world, just like the Soviets wanted. Remember
But how does
I
anti-Semitism?
have
Okay,
to
go
get there. But the Chinese Communist Party, remember, they were always in competition with the USSR to be the better communists.
Right, right.
They want the same thing because think about it. If the entire world is communist, then China's at the heart of it and they're ruling it.
Right. Oh, I get
Where does the anti-Semitism come in?
Yeah.
Taking Israel out of the Middle East pretty much takes us out of the
Okay. All right.
list.
So it's a play to get rid of Israel, wipe it off the map by breaking up the support for it in the United States. These people are really
It
good
also brings
chess
Saudi
players.
Arabia to heel
Right,
for those
right,
outside
right,
powers.
right.
And remember, Saudi Arabia and Iran are not
They're not
friends.
friends.
You know,
Yeah.
historically, they're not
Yeah.
friends. So,
Wow.
and then I would just say this, and my good friend and great man, Frank Gaffney's always said this, as you're looking at all the craziness in the world in the last 10 years, 20 years, whose house is never on fire?
Yeah.
The Chinese.
For sure.
Ever. But they're commenting on everyone else's fire, saying, you better put that out. We'll help you.
Yeah.
You know, so go ahead.
Oh my God. Well, honey, that was brilliant.
Well, thanks, babe.
Yeah, really. You take a while to get there, but when you get there, it's mind blowing.
Well, I kept getting derailed, you know. I had this person in the passenger seat saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?"
Just sometimes they can.
And I was about to pull that figurative car over.
So can I talk about gold, or
Yep,
you want to
and
share
then
this
I want
first?
to end. No,
All
and
right.
then I just want to end with my thing.
Okay, well, this is all very relevant, especially in the world scenario that Brian just described, because if we are unsuccessful, there's going to be even more instability in the United States economically, right?
Yeah, and I know where you're going. It's interesting.
Yeah, so every major financial collapse, this is about our sponsor, who is a precious metals platform and site. Every major financial collapse has been preceded by the same 7 warning signs, you guys. It was before the Great Depression, these emerged, before the 70s stagflation, before the crash of 2008, and now all 7 are flashing red again for the first time in 15 years. American Alternative Assets just released a free report called the Bellwether Signal. It breaks down each of these signals and shows you how to protect your retirement before the next wave of crisis hits. In times of uncertainty, gold has always been the ultimate safe haven. It held strong in 2008. It surged during the inflation crisis of the 70s, and it remains one of the few assets that is not tied to political manipulation or central bank policy. Find out why central banks are buying it in record amounts and how you can too. Call 855-803-GOLD or visit cloutgold.com to get your free copy of the Bellwether Signal. That's 855-803-GOLD, 855-803-GOLD, or cloutgold.com. And If you call the phone number, please mention us. Learn the signs, protect your savings, and make your move while you still can. And just a reminder, sweetheart, one
Yeah.
more thing, if I may. When you support our very excellent sponsors, you support Daily Clout, In the Lair, Outspoken, the network, all these truth tellers and real journalists who are not lying to you and bringing you news you can't find anywhere else. You're not going to hear the origin of a huge chunk of influence that Brian just spelled out from the Wall Street Journal or CNN. You will hear it here. So when you support our sponsors, you support us, and you should donate to Daily Clout on dailyclout.io. You can subscribe to me on Outspoken over on Substack. Don't you have a Substack?
Yeah, so brianoshea.substack.com. It's called Investigate Everything. And then because we're always following the financial, you know, tax, I have something totally separate from Daily Clout, Consumer Diligence on Substack. It's you could go to consumerdiligence.org or at ConsumerDD on X. We just did a big reveal on a 4-part series by my very, very talented guy in charge, Dallas Ludlam, about corruption, and his reporting actually led to Minnesota before Minnesota was like a thing. It's amazing. As you go into the Christmas season, definitely check out our reporting on the consumer-facing businesses. Alicia, one of our great journalists, the Dollar General story will blow your mind. I want to say about gold too.
We only have one more.
Record numbers of like the Chinese are buying it up.
Wow, that's
and where did Biden go with the LA mayor right before the fires?
I don't know.
Went to Ghana.
Oh,
Ghana is the biggest producer of gold in Africa.
That explains
that. So if you want to know why it's good investment, remember when they're buying it up, that means there's less of it. That's what's driving the price from 1,000 to over 4,000 in 3 years.
Baby, we've got to go.
No, let me finish.
We've got to go.
We don't. We got 1 minute.
No, it's 101.
It doesn't matter. They want to know. They're yelling. Look, they're yelling.
I'm sorry. I didn't roll my eyes. It's bad for marriage to roll one's eyes. I just shut my eyes.
Better break out your Dr. Gottman books. So basically, I just wanted to read this. Okay. The United Front is the principal. This is from 1968 while they were going into communism. What's happening? The United Front is the principal alliance between communists and other working class parties, particularly the Social Democrats, or in parallel terms, the Socialists. The Popular Front is the principal alliance between the communists, other working class parties, and the quote-unquote democratic and liberal elements of the bourgeoisie. These patterns of alliances are used by the Communist Party in order to attain ultimate power, which it will not share with anyone. Oh my gosh. I'm almost done. Oh my gosh. There's a definite communist doctrine regarding coalitions between the communists and other parties or political forces. The axioms of this doctrine are the following. Communist Party will always be numerically small, and in comparison with the rest of the population, a minority. It is, and for a long time will continue to be, surrounded by non-communist masses and anti-revolutionary influences. In their bid for power, as well as in the early phases of their rule, the communists therefore require allies whose popular support can make up for their own lack of numbers, numerical strength, in which once they take it, they get rid of everyone else. All the front.
Where did you get this?
This is from, it's on my X. This is from 1968. It is called Communist and Coalition Governments.
Hold up
I'll put it on the thing. Oh my God. But it's Communist and Coalition Governments by Gerhard Niemeyer, published and distributed by the American Enterprise Institute, June 1963.
I mean, to be fair, the American Enterprise Institute is an anti-communist conservative entity.
Obviously.
Okay, well, we don't, I mean,
but
might they not have had an agenda?
Here's the beauty of it. The appendix is full of the victory speeches of the people that took over Czechoslovakia, of Lenin. It lines up with Lenin's works, which I've been studying.
So Brian says it's real. It's real.
And I'll put the sources. But the point is, I recommend reading as much as you can about Lenin and read the speeches, because the things that are being promised by both the Democratic Socialists of America and the MAGA communists are almost verbatim what they were promising and back then. And in one speech, one of the communist leaders said, and we promised him cheaper rent
Oh
and
my
blah, blah, blah. And of course, we never intended
gosh.
to give it to them.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
All right.
there
On
we are.
that note, thank you for joining us. Remember,
Mm.
go to Naomi R. Wolf on X and Brian O'Shea Brian O'Shea SPI on X,
FBI.
and see us soon on In the Lair on the Daily Cloud Network. Take care. Thank you, sweetheart. That was amazing. Oh, I don't know how to hang up.
I think Sean has
Sean
to.
did. No, we're still live. Okay,
We gotta
Sean.
take care of it.
Okay, thank you. Wait, you're missing your chance to say, because you're a man.
Because
That's
I'm a man.
That's right.
You know, I'm the men that we fix things.
Okay, I'm waiting, baby.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well, goodbye, everyone. Yeah, this is awkward.